Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here, Friday, September the 9th, the Feast of St. Peter Claver. From the first reading, 1 Corinthians chapter 9 now, St. Paul says, "Do you not know that in a race the runners all compete, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win it. Athletes exercise self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable one. So I do not run aimlessly, nor do I box as though beating the air, but I punish my body and enslave it, so that after proclaiming to others, I myself should not be disqualified." This can be a great reflection for us to really try and cultivate a sort of a proper, healthy, disciplined, regiment way of living and spiritual norms or spiritual, call them whatever you want, spiritual things that we do through the day. And even mortifications and sacrifices. It's not a rejection of the goods of this earth. Paul was a man who really did have a legitimate, healthy love for things, but he also knew that his wayward, human nature, he was a man infected by original sin like anybody else, could lead him astray if he was not careful, if he did not keep careful watch or custody of these tendencies in his fallen nature. And that's like you and me, right? If we're blind to these things, then at some point we fall into the category of stupid, because we all have this. I have them, you have them. We just have to know what they are. We have to be willing to identify them. And then, like Paul says, kind of be like that spiritual athlete who's willing to discipline ourselves, put ourselves into some kind of regiment, and not just run. In other words, aim for heaven, not aimlessly, not just beat the air through life, but actually aim directly, like have a conscious desire to get to heaven, and we have a goal, like we have goals in order to make that possible. As I think I've said this before, that if you want to be a saint and you're not willing to go to bed at the right time and get up at the right time so that you can pray before going to work, then no, it's not going to work. Or at least do have some sort of framework for spiritual norms or spiritual duties that you have throughout the day. You have to be willing to actually do those things if you want to be a saint. And it's not just those things, but it certainly entails those things. Okay, so over to the Gospel. We continue with St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 6. Jesus says here, why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye and do not notice the log in your own? Or how can you say to your neighbor, "Friend, let me take out the speck from in your eye," when you yourself do not see the log in your own eye? Okay, so I think Jesus is basically, through this parable, this imagery that he's using, he's getting at something we're all familiar with. It's so easy to see everybody else's sin. It's so easy to see what they're doing, and we can be as blind as a bat, to use an expression. We can be as blind as a bat to our own sins, and everybody else sees them. Your wife has to put up with them, your husband has to put up with them, your kids, your parents, your assistant if you're a priest, your people if you're a bishop, everybody else has to put up with them. But we can be blind to them. So this requires that we do a really thorough examination of conscience every single day. We all need to do this. It would actually put a lot of psychologists out of work. I don't mean that, to be mean-spirited. I'm making a kind of facetious point. It would help us to avoid a lot of neuroses, a lot of faults, sins that just go unchecked if we did a healthy examination of conscience. Now, this is the one that Blessed Don Alvaro composed 3 simple questions. Number 1, at the end of the day, you ask yourself before going to bed, your private meeting with Jesus, the last one. Number 1, what have I done wrong today? Take ownership of it. What did I have done wrong before God, before others, and myself? Very simple question. Don't get bogged down. Identify fairly quickly, what have I done wrong before God, others, and myself? Number 2, what have I done right? And give thanks to God for this. It's not just a purely negative exercise. Number 3, what specific resolution can I formulate in order to improve? What have I done wrong before God, others, and myself? Number 2, what have I done right? Give thanks to God. Number 3, what specific resolution can I formulate tonight before I go to bed that I want to work on tomorrow? One specific one. When I get up in the morning, I renew that. Write it down if you have to. So the important thing is that we are not blind. Doesn't mean just because we see things clearly, we can go around, making all sorts of accusations or judgments on other people. We should do this with great caution, kindness, prudence, tact. Doesn't mean we shouldn't say anything. That would be the opposite error. But we have to be very careful we do this. And when we do this to others, we better be prepared to take it from others. So we do it in such a way, whatever corrections we might have to make, do it in such a way that you would want this same correction made on you in the same way. That, I think, would really help a lot in the way these kind of things have to go between human beings. God bless you.